Hi, my name is Anne Eddy, and I'm here to show you some really cool ways to make some wonderful flowers. I'm playing with all kinds of cool toys today. I'm going to start with a backdrop of hand-dyed fabric, which has its own little light source and its world going on right there where I can play with it, and I don't have to work so hard. I am a lazy creature. And I'm going to be using several things to make some flower blossoms. I do play with some rather strange toys. This is hand-dyed cheesecloth, and it is a wonderful shear. It gives me all the shears, but it acts like cotton, so I can iron the tar out of it and steam it and do bad things and evil things to it, and it will still be lovely. Now, this is a much more fragile baby. It's called Angelina fiber, and the people at the booth were kind enough to iron and fuse it for me already. It looks like cotton candy. And this now it looks like smushed cotton candy, but it's going to be beautiful. I'm going to cut you some flower shapes. And everyone I know who does flowers says, I got a pattern, and I put my pattern together, and I found my pattern, but it isn't big enough, it isn't small enough, it isn't this, it isn't that, it isn't one thing or t'other, it's headed the wrong direction. Now there's sorrow. This is so much simpler. We're going to just cut some yummy shapes. I'm going to start with my Angelina fiber, and I put it on Steam Seam 2, which is basically a peanut butter sandwich. You have two pieces of paper, which are your bread, and then you have your gummy stuff in the middle. And it's tacky, which doesn't mean the Angelina fiber is. It tacks on, it holds on. And I'm going to cut some cool shapes. And you know what? I can't cut one that's wrong. I'm going to cut these cool little heart shapes because they're fun and they're a lot of interesting texture. And I'm going to cut several of them, some out of my Angelina, some out of my cheesecloth. Are they right? Yes. I can't do them wrong. I could do them differently next time, but I cannot do them wrong. And I'm going to peel another piece off. I could trim that away, but we're going to just play with another piece. This is cheesecloth. And the fun thing about cheesecloth is that it moves around. I could make it with folds. I could make it scrunch up like that. Or I could just make it smooth, and I can make it shim. So all of that is good, good, good stuff. I'm going to cut the same kind of shape. And what I think that's going to do for me, it's going to give me a flower with a really shiny up part and a shadow underneath. And I like that idea. And they always say a three-legged stool always stands. But what's really true is it's better sometimes to have odd numbers. So we're going to play with that and see what that does. Now I'm going to peel off the other side of the peanut butter sandwich, so all I have is my fabric and my glue. There we go. And because I can move this around, I can change it, I can move it. You know what it's doing? And I didn't expect it to. It's making sweet peas. Look at that. Are you in charge of your quilt? I never am. My quilt tells me regularly what I should do, and I better listen or I'm in trouble. Now, when I go to stitch that, that's when the really special thing is going to happen. I would start, and I think I'm going to build myself a little pathway here. Isn't that pretty? We could just draw a little stem that goes through right like that. And when I'm stitching it, I would go through with my thread, and I'm going to show you on some quilts that are already finished what that might look like. Here's some morning glories of both varieties. The dragonflies are a morning glory, and so is the flower. And what this is just that wonderful center looking in. But you can see that I've gone in with my thread, I've segmented it, and that's one really great way to make a flower work. And then I've used a spiral, and God is really smart about spirals. They're beautiful, and he uses them all the time, and I'm not silly enough to tell him no. And that makes a really great morning glory. My thread forms it. I can go out on my little edges, give them their lovely little curl. It's very pretty. Here's a piece in process. This was cheesecloth. I worked on this week in my class. And I made these as separate pieces because I really embroidered these a lot. And just like a frog, when you kiss them, they pucker up. So you know they're going to do that. And you might as well do that on a stabilizer sandwich. My sandwich was a layer of Decorband felt, my hand-dyed fabric, which you can see through there so it blends in with itself, and my cheesecloth. And then I went through, and I'm going to put that where you can see it nicely up close, and stitched a whole lot free motion at an angle and then out to the side. All of this with a zigzag stitch. I put in this yummy little curl here, and all of a sudden I've got beautifully dimensional petals. I know these guys look a little flat, but that's just a temporary way station. Here I had just some really very pretty petal shapes, and you can see that with the threads I went through in my lovely spiral here, and that's machine beading. That is so fun. I have these lovely, wonderful petals. How many colors are in a flower? How many colors do you have? Finally, does it have to be a flower? No, of course it does not. I do these cheesecloth mushrooms the same way, and they are so much fun. It's called a dash of mushrooms, and as you can see, that's just what he's doing. Well, thank you for coming and looking at my flowers and the fun things you can do with them once you get them ironed on and once you start to stitch.